Welcome back everyone. Today we will be discussing how to use a sneaker bot. However, these same fundamentals can be applied if your bot covers sites for GPUs, consoles, cards, Funkos, Supreme, etc. The reason the title revolves around sneaker bots is because the example we will be using to demonstrate everything will be foot sites. This is for two reasons. For one reason, there have been many recent changes on foot sites specifically involving Q8 captchas and how it affects third-party solvers, which I feel will benefit even the more experienced spotters from this channel. I will leave a table of contents on the screen. You can feel free to skip around if you don't need everything. For the second reason, the bot we will be using as our example supports foot sites and has quite immense success on them. That is Gargantua AIO, my bot. Now, I've got some really incredible news for you guys, as you may have seen in the title already. The whole reason this channel tends to focus on manual exploits and tips is to help those of you who cannot afford bots. However, I am now happy to announce to you guys that I will be offering free beta keys for the Jordan 4 Lightning drop on Gargantua's Twitter, Gargantua_AIO, later this week before the drop. These free beta keys will only last for one drop, but I figured I'd at least allow a good amount of my supporters to try out the bot for completely free if you couldn't afford one before. The keys will not be infinite, of course, but I will have a good amount of stock for you guys, so follow the Twitter if interested in testing on the Jordan 4 drop. If you're watching this video after the beta drop, I still suggest following the Twitter because eventually we will likely be doing free weekly key drops as well. To begin with, here is the table of contents so you guys can navigate around the video if you do not need to hear every single part. Although if you are a beginner, I suggest watching from the very beginning because I arranged them in a very particular order just for you. Remember, we'll be using the Gargantua user interface as our example, but the vast majority of all bots have extremely similar layouts. No matter which bot you plan to get, you will be able to adapt after learning these fundamentals. We will use the different parts of the user interface to transition between important fundamentals of botting. As for the table of contents, we will begin with proxies, then we will transition into servers. Next, we'll discuss profiles and the importance of jigging your info in some cases. Following this, we'll briefly touch on accounts and generators, then we'll move to captcha solvers. After, we'll jump to task creation with task sets, then we'll do a brief overview of the actual dashboard for all of your created tasks. And finally, we'll just quickly go over the settings page that you'll likely see in the majority of your bots. With that though, let us get started. Proxies. You must be ready to invest in proxies when you do start botting. It is suggested that you always have a mix of both residential proxies as well as data center proxies. You could easily access KitProxy's website to purchase residential proxies data by clicking top up within the Gargantua user face itself, or for any other bot they may have some linked ones in there as well, or within their support Discord servers. Using the Gargantua UI as our example, here is how one could add proxies into their bot. After clicking add, a window will pop up allowing you to paste your proxies. Now you can name the list something that you will remember and select residential or DC ISP to help with organization. Then click Save Proxy List. When you become more experienced, you'll begin to see the value in diversifying your proxy providers. This is in fact the whole reason I created KitProxy's, a fully transparent platform allowing you to purchase from multiple providers all in the same dashboard. Some days, OxyLab will do much better than others, while others it may be vice versa. For example, if OxyLab has an API outage, it'll be great having a backup such as GeoSurf for smart proxies, for example. What is the main difference between data center proxies versus residential proxies, and do I need both? The primary difference that you will notice is that DC proxies typically have significantly faster ping times compared to residential proxies, which are slower. However, they are also banned on more sites than residentials and can often be banned on working sites, especially foot sites, at unpredictable times. Another key difference is how you pay for them. You pay for DC proxies per IP, but you get unlimited usage out of each one of them. You could send as many requests as you want. For example, you can run tasks 24/7 for Restocks, and you won't lose them until they expire, normally on a 30-day period, unless otherwise specified by the provider you purchase from. Therefore, you have unlimited usage, but you have a finite amount of IPs because you paid for each one of those, which limits the amount of tasks you can make, unfortunately, while maintaining a safe ratio, which we'll be discussing soon. Now on the other hand, you pay for residential proxies per gigabyte by data usage. You could generate an unlimited amount of IPs on your dashboard, but you are limited by the amount of usage, which is the request you're sending from your bot. This is why residentials are great for initial drops rather than restocks, as they allow you to run a massive amount of tasks while maintaining a still safe proxy to task to delay ratio for an affordable price. However, they are not great for running 24/7 restocks since your data will burn out eventually and you'll have to buy more. You can think about residential proxies like a cell phone data plan. If you watch a lot of YouTube videos on your data plan, you will use a lot of that data and run out quickly, just like running a lot of tasks for a long period of time will use a lot of data. Overall, you should have a mix of both types in your setups. You should be running mostly residentials on initial drops, but of course, still good to have a mix, and mostly data center proxies for restocks that you will leave running 24/7 so you don't burn through your data. Please note, not all sites are optimal for residentials, such as Supreme, for example, where speed is incredibly important. One thing I want to note regarding Gargantua specifically, we'll soon be adding a restock mode in which you can set up multiple products for foot sites, and we'll take care of the monitoring on our side. When something does restock in your list that you create for products you desire, then the task will start once they restock. A lot of cool stuff planned you'll see, but it's not added just yet, and I'm not sure how many bots have this. Lastly, for proxies, whenever you need to test yours, I'd suggest the free Fog London proxy tester. You can download it for Windows or Mac for completely free. Now, for servers.
Secret Service guns, presidential on my wrist. 20 escalades like
a server is not a necessity for running. Unlike proxies, you do not need a server if you do not want one. However, it is suggested for several reasons. For one, it will allow you to run restocks 24/7 with your computer being off, since your bot is not going to be running with your computer. Your computer is simply used to interact with your server. The second reason, unless you have a very impressive computer, it will likely be able to handle many more tasks much more efficiently if you purchase a good server or create a good server. And for the third reason, it will allow you to edit tasks from your mobile device when you're on the go if you download the Microsoft Remote Desktop app. Yes, you could literally run your bot from your mobile device this way. The Remote Desktop app from Microsoft is just one example of the many ones you could use to connect to your server, although this is the one I do personally use, and of course, it is free. You could either purchase a server for a flat rate per month. I left a link in the description for the one I use, 10x servers, or on the other hand, you can make a Google Cloud or AWS server and only enable it when you personally want to use it. Now, a disclaimer for this, if you leave it on all month long, even by accident, it will end up costing you much more than a flat rate server will, so be very careful in making sure that you remember to turn off your Google Cloud or AWS server if you don't want to purchase a flat rate server like 10x. There are a lot of useful videos explaining how you can make your own if you prefer to take that route. Moral of the story though, you don't need a server, but it is certainly ideal due to the reasons I did mention. But now, profiles.
Chopstick, not the type you eat the food with. I got you in there.
Start by creating profile groups for sites that you specifically want profiles set for. This way, you could add your profiles to these existing sets as you create them. This should be self-explanatory. Simply add your information into here once creating the profiles. After creating your profiles, you could also view profile to view individual ones to make modifications if ever need be. With almost every single website, you will need to jig your information in order to avoid cancels or declines for duplicate orders. This in itself really does deserve its own video, but some of the key points to take away for right now: you could randomize the last 4 digits of your phone number. There's no verification needed there. For the majority of sites, you can use the dot trick for Gmails. That's essentially just inputting a random period between characters prior to the @gmail.com. Don't use this for foot sites though, as most of them will likely end up being ghost orders, unfortunately. For foot sites, I would suggest using unique emails. You can add 4 random characters to the beginning of your address, such as ABCD 123 Maple Street. For your card, I suggest using virtual cards. Privacy is normally my go-to, but it will not work for Supreme specifically. For Supreme, on the other hand, you'll need an alternative like Capital One AIO, for example, or just using multiple physical cards from your family members like your wife or maybe your father. Regarding foot sites specifically, there is a huge misconception when it comes to cancels here. People seem to think that they get canceled for duplicate orders. While this isn't directly true, the reason for payment verification cancels, also known in the community as PV cancels, something we all hate, is due to the payment processor they use that detects fraud, Aiden. Now, back in 2020, I worked on a theory regarding how to successfully work around this, and it was actually working for those who committed to it, because it's not something that's just one and done. There's actually quite a long process to this. It was only until recently that I actually discovered that inside the payment processor's own docs, they actually mentioned something essentially the same as what my theory discusses. This also in itself really does deserve its own entire video, so I'll try to get around to this soon for you guys. If of course you guys are interested, let me know. But anyway, that's just the general info you'll need to know to get you started when it comes to profiles. Next up,
Scratched $1 million off my checklist 3 years ago. At 2 zeros to the 1, I'm in a different mode.
add accounts for sites that require them to check out, such as Best Buy, Walmart, Tops, etc. For the vast majority of bots, the format that you will enter your accounts in is email, password. They are then separated by new line. If you are botting sites that do require accounts, such as Walmart for example, I highly suggest investing in an account generator for the respective sites. Some sites simply won't allow you to make multiple purchases on the same account. Even more frustrating though, some sites like Walmart will allow you to make purchases but then refund every single order if there are multiple from the same account. This is why it is absolutely imperative that you either invest in an account generator or take the time to manually make numerous accounts. Most bots will also have an option within their profiles to set each profile to only check out once per site. This way you could still run tons of tasks on the same profiles using the same accounts, but the bot will not make duplicate purchases after one does go through, which is very useful considering it's important that you have more than one task per account if you have very limited accounts made. There is also a tab for adding your captcha solvers under Captcha. This is one of the most important yet tedious parts about botting, so bear with me here.
What's your choice of drug? I be sipping syrup, I think I'm in love. Whoa.
I always suggest using a mix of third-party CAPTCHA solver services, such as Anti-CAPTCHA and 2CAPTCHA. I do not suggest using CapMonster at all, since as of recently they have proved to have numerous issues handling high traffic over the past months. In addition to those services though, you should also be using farm Gmails as well. Personally, I highly suggest considering purchasing AutoSolve from AYCD. It will allow you to efficiently manage all of your third-party CAPTCHA solvers in one single place. They also have an AutoSolve AI, which recently came out and you could consider testing out as well. To implement third-party CAPTCHA solvers into Gargantua, for example, simply create a solver, select the service of your choice, 2CAPTCHA for example, then copy and paste your API key into the box. Of course, you'll first need to make an account on the respective sites like Anti-CAPTCHA or 2CAPTCHA, add some funds, normally $5 to $10 is plenty, then copy your API key from your dashboard. Now, in the first half of 2021 and earlier, third-party CAPTCHA solvers proved to be immensely useful, especially for foot site CAPTCHAs. However, these third-party solvers have now been getting overloaded with too many requests on the majority of drops. Overall, you should set up tasks using third-party solvers, however, you should not fully depend on them. Currently, foot sites are using QIT on their initial drops. When preparing your task, you should make multiple task sets, even for the same site. So Foot Locker, for example, you should have multiple task sets of this. The only difference between these task sets for each site will be in your advanced settings dropdown on the task creation. This is from your CAPTCHA source selection. We'll discuss tasks later. However, as mentioned, I do not feel that you should fully rely on third-party solvers. You should also have manual solver task sets in case the third-party services become overloaded, which often occurs. Here are some important tips regarding manual Gmail CAPTCHA solvers with foot sites as our example. So while foot sites are using QIT, you should be starting your tasks as soon as the queue begins. The reason you're starting early is not for a queue advantage. That's not the reason. You will not get a queue advantage from this since foot sites use a pre-queue and then they use a separate drop queue. Besides, Gargantua's bypass will allow you to pass extremely fast fast anyway. The reason that you're actually suggested to start early so that you could have 30 to 50 minutes before the drop goes live in order to take care of all those brutal captchas. This way, you will be able to pass the queue with Gargantua's bypass and not have to worry about those queue-it captchas. So now manual solving tip number 2, this isn't just for foot sites, this is just in general. You should either purchase pre-farmed Gmails with a binded proxy or farm the Gmails yourself. Farmed or primed Gmails are essentially Gmails that have artificial activity generated on them to increase their CAPTCHA score. A high score of 0.9 will allow for many more one-click CAPTCHAs and easier to solve CAPTCHAs, much less of those fading CAPTCHAs that we all brutally hate. It is immensely important that whether you buy your Gmails pre-farmed or farm them yourself with automated software, such as one we offer for free in Endurance, that you use this same proxy in your solver that you farm them with. If you ever buy pre-farmed Gmails, please ensure you also purchase them with the same proxy that they were farmed on. This will allow for much easier solving. For those not in Endurance who do need a CAPTCHA farmer, I left a link in the description for essentials if you are interested. Overall, you should create some tasks with 2 CAPTCHA tasks, some with anti-CAPTCHA and some with manual solvers. Now, if you do have AYCD, it will manage your auto-solve AI to CAPTCHA and anti-CAPTCHA for you, all with the same key. So this way, you do not need separate task sets for those. However, you should always still have separate tasks with manual Gmails as well as your other third-party solver. Don't forget to start the tasks as early as possible to solve all of your CAPTCHAs. Make sure that you do have sufficient proxy data to last you throughout this time. If you only have very little data, make sure that you only start the amount of tasks that you think you can solve CAPTCHAs for within a short period of time. I can't tell how fast you will personally solve your CAPTCHAs. It mostly depends on how well farmed your Gmails are, as well as how fast your own reflexes are. So I can't tell you how much you could personally handle within a finite period of time. It will take some trial and error for your personal situation. The safest is, of course, to start as early as possible when the queue begins, and worst case, you'll just have to purchase more proxy data mid-drop. So keep an eye on your data as always. Next up, we prepare for battle. Task creation.
4 trap spots at the bottom of the hill. Straight up tryna dig savage, that'll probably get you.
Not all bots will have task sets, however, more and more are beginning to adapt to using them since they are extremely useful in terms of organization. Gargantua is an example of one of the many bots that uses task sets. Prior to creating your tasks, you must first create the respective task sets for the site that you do desire. You could start by creating task sets by selecting sets in the top left. Now you name it something that will help you easily find it when time is of essence. Each task is dedicated to a specific site for organization purposes. Select the site you desire for the set in the drop-down menu. Now, after creating the task sets, you can now click Tasks in the top left and begin by creating your tasks. Now, switch back over to Tasks and begin creating your task by first selecting your task set. So here's a quick explanation of each of the elements that you'll find here. The task timer. Set your task to start at a specific date and time. This is very useful when a lot of releases are going on within the same day. Auto start tasks. This will automatically start your tasks as soon as you create them. This is useful when time is of essence. Task type. This is only required for certain sites that have more than one mode, Supreme for example. Link, stock keeping unit, keywords. This is where you will add your link, SKU, or keywords for any site. For example, Supreme can take keywords, while foot sites must only take a stock keeping unit, which is just a couple of digits. Proxies. Select the proxy list that you intend to use for these sites. Profiles. Select the profiles or profile groups that you intend to use for these tasks. Obviously, you can see why profile groups are so important because it's going to allow you to save a significant amount of time when you set up for these sites. Size selection. Select which sizes you intend to run for. You will be using random for the majority of the time. Product quantity. Enter the amount of items you would like to check out in one cart. This is useful for sites that allow you to multi-cart products such as Target and Hot Topic, or even bricks on foot sites. This is going to allow you to save on shipping costs, of course. task quantity. Enter the amount of tasks you would like to create. Keep in mind, this number will be multiplied by the amount of profiles that you have selected. For example, if I select 4 profiles in my setup and I then select 10 tasks, that will actually create 40 rather than 10. Now, in your advanced settings drop down, you just click the advanced to drop this down, this full menu. For color, this is only for Supreme. Either enter the desired color or enable the random option. Price check, use this to provide a range of max and minimum prices for the bot to check prior to actually checking out the product. This is very important when you do not know the item's retail or for avoiding items being listed for resale on certain retail sites. For delays, enter the interval that you want requests to be sent in milliseconds for each of your tasks. Delays that are too low can get your proxies banned if you do not have a sufficient amount or will use lots of your data if you're using residential. Now, a safe ratio is as follows. 3500 equals delay divided by tasks divided by proxies in parentheses. Now, if nothing is entered, default delays will be used if nothing is entered. Now, don't worry if you guys don't understand the delay ratio. For the most part, you'll be completely fine if you just leave it as default and you don't use a completely absurd ratio. And then finally, simply create the tasks.
Check my threads, I done went Hermes, I done went New Gas, I done went BBS. Dirt in my cup and no cleaning up fresh.
Now, this is your dashboard. This is where you could easily access all of your created tasks, start task, stop task, delete task, and delete sets from here. This is essentially your battleground where you go to war on every single release. For the X, you simply use this to delete task sets. As for the task selection boxes, clicking the top checkbox will allow all tasks in the respective set to perform an action of your choice. Selecting individual task boxes will then allow you to only take action on those specific tasks that you selected. For the most part, you'll normally be selecting the top option to select them all at once, as that's the easiest thing to do. Then simply there's a start, stop, delete, link change option. All of these are quite self-explanatory. Then there's also a task timer and proxy change. These again should be quite self-explanatory. And then there are individual tasks functions. You could start, edit, or delete a task with these 3 options next to each. And finally, the settings page is mostly self-explanatory. Add your webhook so you can get notifications for your success in your Discord server. You could also download updates from within the bot here. In some cases, you may need to use an exterior link for the bot, which is normally provided in a Discord support server for your bot. For example, currently, Mac users for GGT need to click a link to download the update, while Windows users can update from directly into the bot. You can also set your quick task settings in here, such as your default profile. Quick tasks are what you'll often find on monitor pings that allow you to make tasks very quickly when your cook group monitor pings. But anyway, those are the fundamentals. Congratulations, you made it. Hopefully, you see that botting really is not that complicated at all. It might seem like a lot of information to take in, but trust me, if you just rewatch this video, you'll realize it's really not too hard to understand at all. It's quite simple actually, but it does require a lot of tedious work, a lot of patience, such as profile jigging, captcha farming, account creations, etc. So botting is not simply just clicking a button and getting immense shoes. There's a lot that goes into this. There is some kind of art to it, and frankly, a lot of it is very tedious. So if you intend on botting, you better be prepared to put in the work for it, because it is not as simple as clicking a button. Perhaps in 2017 and 18, when there were hardly any protections, it was that easy, but unfortunately now there is a little bit extra work that you will have to do on your hand. I made this video due to high request in my recent live stream, as well as the fact that I'll be dropping free beta keys on my Twitter soon for you guys for the Jordan 4 Lightning drop. So make sure you do follow Gargantua _AIO on Twitter for that. However, if you guys did like this, I can make more informative videos regarding botting as well. Let me know, of course. I'm just here to try to make you guys happy and help you guys out. For example, I do think a full video on payment verification, cancel theory would be useful to you guys, or perhaps a full video on captcha farming, perhaps even individual site guides. Let me know what you guys want in the comments below. I'm just here to try to help you guys out. Anyway, that'll conclude it for today. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, or perhaps you've learned a thing or two. Subscribe and enable post notifications just to stay 100% updated on all hyped releases. Also, feel free to check out the links in the description below for reliable, fast residential proxies and pre-verified Nike sneakers or Adidas accounts. Also, feel free to follow Endurance's Twitter for updates on restocks or key giveaways, and the same goes for Gargantua, so you could hopefully get a free beta key for the Jordan 4 Lightning drop. Last but not least, make sure to follow KeithAdam10 and Personals for You so you guys stay updated on all their urgent info. With that though, I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and of course, good luck.